I'm Corbett Wall with USDA Livestock and Grain Market News. Here with your weekly feeder and stocker cattle market summary for the week ending March the 1st, where feeder cattle and calf prices were not well tested due to the huge winter storm that come across some major trade areas in the southern plains and the Midwest, pretty much affecting all 5 of your feeding areas. Just hardly any of your bigger sales. If they were open, they didn't have a whole lot of cattle. Oklahoma City on Monday had really light receipts. El Reno had real light receipts. Go up to Joplin, had hardly any cattle. Those cattle all sold at a sharply lower undertone because of the big storm coming. Then you got into the middle of the week, and we didn't have any sales in most of your midweek auctions in Oklahoma and Kansas and Missouri. Did not have sales at all, and it was just hard. A lot of roads shut down. Your feedlots, that's the last thing they wanted, was to have some cattle come in, so your buyers had no orders and pretty much shut everything down. Now, we did have some direct trade, and up in the northern plains in the Dakotas and in western Nebraska, we did have some pretty decent sales, places like Phillip and Ogallala and places like that. Your market for the places that did have a test out there was mostly steady to $3 lower, although later in the week we did see some firmness after they traded fat cattle higher and after the storm moved on out. But down in the southeastern calf markets there, they were weak to $8 lower, as basically all your western orders were shut down. You couldn't have got cattle out there if you'd have wanted to, and so it just really put a damper on that market. Even though some places had as many cattle as they normally had, they just had to find local demand, or the shippers were going to have to hold those cattle a lot longer than they wanted to, so they weren't going to be able to give the full extent of their ability to pay for those cattle. But probably in the Texas Panhandle it was the worst. In the Amarillo area there, they had up to 20 inches of snow in the general area, and just high winds 40, 50, 60 miles an hour, just making it unbearable, unable to see. Snow drifts covering the fences and cattle walking out. Moved across there in western Oklahoma and northwest Oklahoma, come up through Dodge City, Pratt, hit parts of Wichita again, up through the Flint Hills. We did get some moisture out of this, some pretty good moisture, although they say it takes 10 to 12 inches of snow to make an inch of rain, but still we saw some good moisture out of these 2 storms basically. But it has shut down a trade of feeder cattle and calves. Up for the year to date, we're now 21%, our nationwide auction receipts are 21% lighter than they were at this point last year. So we're way behind selling cattle, but there's a lot less cattle around too, and probably not going to catch up a whole lot on that. But the economy's still not so great. The sequestration there and the spending cuts coming in got everybody worried, but at the same time your stock market was flirting with all-time record highs this week, and your fat cattle ended up selling $3 to $6 higher than last week, 127 to 129, and your dress sales 202 to 204, because our slaughter rates have been really slow here. That's finally starting to pick up a little bit. Your box beef cutout values were higher this week, and it did allow your packers to pay a little bit more for cattle, and the storms coming through always going to pep that market up a little bit with a weather market. But what the markets need, all classes of cattle really need some warmer weather. We got some newfound demand coming out into early grazing now that we've got enough moisture to kind of kickstart this grass in some of your major grazing areas. We need that weather to get on out of there. The northeast part of the United States has just been hammered one after the other with storms, and we need those people to get back out and get to eating beef again, and get their grills out, and that would really make a lot of difference. But we're starting to see a little bit of a spring rally maybe in this beef market, and it'll trickle down all the way through. Your regional weighted averages this week, 800 to 900 pounds steer in the north central States this week cost $134.72 compared to $134.02 last week and $149.22 a year ago. In the South Central States, 7 to 800 pound steer, $138.02 last week, $138.80 a year ago, $156.77. We're falling way behind year ago levels here. Down in the Southeast, 5 to 600 pound steer cost you $151.20 compared to $154.33. And a year ago, the unseasonably mild late winter had your 5 to 6 weight southeastern steers bringing $177.38. But that wraps up your feeder summary for this week. Check out our website for more market information at marketnews.usda.gov. And from the Regional Market News Office in St. Joe, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.